before Christopher Nolan rebooted Batman into a grounded, gritty icon. The franchise was buried under neon, nipples, and bat puns.
All right, everyone, chill.
This week on the Cinema Psycho Show, we are diving into Batman Begins, the film that not only saved The Dark Knight, but it redefined what a superhero film could be. It's a story about fear, identity, and the rise of a more realistic Batman, told through the lens of a true auteur. And we're not alone. This week, we're joined by Brett Parker from Dissect That Film to unpack how 20 years ago, this reboot changed Hollywood forever. Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined by my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
And to think Heath Ledger auditioned for this role. Maybe if he had gotten Batman, it would have put him in a different trajectory where the Olsen twins didn't murder him.
Jesus Christ, you can't do that right out of the gate, John.
Allegedly. No, they didn't kill him.
No, they didn't kill him.
Having 10 pharmacists killed him.
Jesus Christ. You're just like, well, it's been over a decade. We're good, right?
Yeah.
We're good. Yeah. This week is like the last week of June, honestly. And I realized, John, that it's been 20 years since Batman Begins basically saved the Batman franchise. And I wanted to make sure that we closed out June, by talking about it. And we've got an awesome guest with us today, right, John?
Indubitably.
Yeah. He's been someone who's followed our podcast for a while. We followed his podcast for a while, but we have with us today, Brett from Dissect That Film. Hey, Brett, how's it going?
It's going great. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me and to talk about one of my favorites.
Yeah, same here. This was a fun rewatch. Like, I've seen Batman Begins like a bajillion times. I have a giant poster of it over here. I have a giant Batman mask that's on the floor now, and I'm not going to grab it because I forgot to put it over here. But I have a rubber mask. Like, I love Batman Begins for a lot of reasons, but like getting a chance to rewatch this was really fun.
Brian, it is kind of fucked up when you point out that it is 20 years old.
Yeah. Makes you feel really old, huh?
I used to have a subscription to Entertainment Weekly, and like all of the old ones are scattered throughout my mom's house. And it was like 2003 to 2007, like that window. Mm-hmm. And in the spare bedroom at my mom's house is the summer movie preview. And right on the cover there is Christian Bale as Batman. So I kind of always am reminded, I'm like, yeah, 2005 seems like a long time ago.
So you still have them?
Oh, that Entertainment Weekly?
Yeah.
You
don't get rid of those.
No. You never get rid of those.
All the Batman Begins pages stick together from all my splooge. I was so excited.
Oh, yeah. I imagine, John, we really haven't had you be as rude and crass and gross in a while. We've actually been pretty restrained. So it's like Batman Begins. I'm going to begin talking about grossness again.
I feel right at home.
Okay, good.
Listening to John, because this is one of my co-hosts is the same way. And so being here and listening to this, I'm like, oh man.
And you're just you're like, I don't have to edit any of this shit.
I don't have to question whether or not I have to cut something.
No, it's very rare. It's maybe like, what would you say, John? Like 6 times a year where I go like, you listen back to the episode, you're just like, oh yeah.
No.
He cut out that thing.
That's gotta go. Yeah. Well, you told me to stop going after 2 people, which I will not mention for legal reasons, because reasons. They will sue us.
They absolutely will. And I really don't want us to be sued because we don't make any money from this podcast. So there's that.
I do. I just don't tell you.
Yes, well, there's that.
But yeah, I think before we can kind of even begin to dissect Batman Begins, I think we need to talk about how we even got here in the first place.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think we even need to go back to the television series, but like, I guess maybe in a way we do, because Michael Uslin, who cheap plug for me, I interviewed on my YouTube channel. Go check that out when you're done listening to this and done, liking and sharing. Is talked about how the series annoyed him so much because his love of Batman being this dark, gritty crime fighter that he dedicated his life to getting Batman on the screen as Batman was supposed to be. And it took a decade essentially to get him on the screen, but Batman 89 came out, took the world by storm, was like the highest grossing movie of that summer, one of the highest grossing movies at that time of all time. Like I think in the top 10.
I think it was number five.
Yeah.
Highest grossing.
And then the studio made the stupid mistake of just giving free range to a evil scarecrow that made a wish to be a real boy, Tim Burton, to make whatever movie he wanted. So we had, barfing penguins and.
But here's the thing: is it really the studio's fault for telling Tim Burton, who basically made them a shit ton of money, hey, we'll get the who was it? It was Gruber and Peters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would say this in the sense
Getting
that
Grubers and Peters out of there.
Not that there aren't other tent poles at Warner Brothers, but this is their biggest one. And like, this guy's a little eccentric if you've seen Beetlejuice
but he made a shit ton of money with Edward Scissorhands. So like they figured, let him do his thing. And I mean, here's the thing. I have problems with Batman Returns. Watch listen to our first episode.
Oh God, it's like season 1 of The Simpsons.
It is. But like, I have problems with Batman Returns, but you can't say it isn't Tim Burton's movie. And I think there is a little bit of an echoing of, auteurship in Batman Begins as well. Okay, you can watch all 3 of the Dark Knight trilogy and go like, yeah, those are Christopher Nolan films. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and in the same way you could say that, the first 2 were Tim Burton films. But, but then because McDonald's gets pissed off, and for people that don't know, I'll just briefly say, they basically canned Tim Burton because McDonald's and a couple other sponsors were pissed about the sexual innuendos and how gross the penguin was. And that's a huge amount of money for Warner Brothers. So, yeah, they canned his ass and brought in somebody they could throw around in Joel Schumacher. And I will say, I bet from the Warner Brothers executives, Batman Forever, while not as profitable as the first Batman movie was, this is exactly what we want. It's kid friendly. Mm-hmm. It's sponsor friendly. We're going to sell probably even more toys than we did at the first one. But then the problem was, I don't know if it was the executives, if it was Joel, if it was the script, but somebody that lost a goddamn mind with Batman and Robin. And
it was the fact that the executive said, get
toys,
the toy people more involved. So when you start to get more of the toy people involved, they don't give a shit about plot. They don't care about character. They don't care about even Batman's Rogues Gallery. Like they don't care about logic. Like I never understood why in Batman and Robin, why there had to be a costume change at the end of the movie. Like I know as a cynical asshole why there was a costume change, because some douchebag at Warner Brothers was like, we need to have the Bat ice skating mobile shit thing there, and they got to have matching silver and blue costumes. And it made no sense to me. It still makes no sense to me today. Like there's nothing in the movie that's like, they have to put on their silver costumes.
Right. They had to get in their Arctic protection.
But yeah, like it was an Arctic prophylactic. Is that what you're trying to tell me? It was like Arctic condom suit.
But I would say this. I think the only way this movie gets away with its overly serious approach, realistic approach, and not showing Batman until an hour into the movie, Warner Brothers never greenlights this unless the previous Batman movie was such a disaster.
Yeah. Brett, I'm curious your thoughts on this whole pre-Batman Begins, madness.
Well, as John was saying, the reason why Tim Burton's Batman became a thing was because of the fact that the original series was so campy and it just didn't feel like Batman. And you go through the two Burton films, and because they were getting too dark, of course they do the change with Schumacher, and then it starts to regress back to what the 66 show was. Batman and Robin is just a modern version of the 66 series,
Exactly.
just more colorful and ridiculous, and they had more technology to do the special effects and all that, and it was
like
kind of
ice
just
skates that shoot out of your feet.
yes, and doing a close-up costume, like suit up of a supposed 17-year-old girl, which was just really weird.
There are things like that in movies from that time period that you're just like, I can't believe they got away with it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, as I know from my Manhattan video I did on YouTube,
Yeah.
Gotham's supposed to be New York City, and the legal age is 17 in New York. So So the executive
Gross.
said, "Roll them bones, let's go."
Oh no.
So
But yeah,
gross.
but by the time Batman and Robin ends, you're just like, well, we're kind of back where we started. Like we need to, so Batman Begins becomes the new Batman 89.
Well, what's interesting is that even after that, like I knew that there were other projects that led to Batman Begins. Like, people have to understand, there was like an 8-year gap between
97 to 2005.
Yeah. So there's an 8-year gap. In those 8 years, it's not like people at Warner Brothers were not trying. Like, people at Warner Brothers, here's the crazy thing. People at Warner Brothers knew the type of movie that they were making. It's not like nobody saw the dailies. It's not any of that shit. They knew what type of movie they were making.
Brian, Joel Schumacher literally threw a blowhorn before yelling action would go, "Remember, you're in a cartoon and action." That's what he would say. And it's like the actors are like, wait, how am I supposed to take this seriously as a performer, as a thespian, if I'm just in a cartoon? That's how
Right. But like they all were in on it.
Yeah.
And they even planned a sequel for this movie. They planned a final Schumacher film called Batman Unchained. Did you guys know about this one?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, where Robin goes to college, and I think this is supposed to be Scarecrow's introduction. And he's supposed to spook Batman into like seeing his former enemies. And we were going to get an elderly Jack Nicholson back in his make. That would have been bad.
Well, he was apparently in talks to do this while he was doing, what the hell movie was it? Something's Gotta Give. He was doing all the press stuff.
Wait, As Good as It Gets?
As Good as It Gets. That's it.
Yeah.
He was doing all the press stuff for that, and he was in talks with Warner Brothers to reprise his role, and they were going to bring everybody back. Like they were going to bring back Jim Carrey. They're going to bring back Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer. This was going to be like, I would call it an Avengers level movie before there even was an Avengers out there.
But what was going to be the tone, though? What was going to be the tone? You just had Batman and Robin.
It would be Batman and Robin. It would be that continuation.
No, from what I heard, that Joel actually pushed for this to be a serious and like dark movie, and and it's just like, wait a minute,
can't do that.
You can't go back. You can't do that.
Forever was a little bit dark.
It's not
tiny.
It's like if
like dim light bulb dark.
Yeah. If Mo Howard was like, I know that we at the Three Stooges here usually hit each other with sledgehammers and hammers and stuff, but I thought maybe the next special we do is just kind of a existential search into what it is to be poor during the Great Depression. And we talk about our feelings and we don't use our fists whatsoever. It's like,
and it's just called The Three Guys.
Yeah, The Three Guys. Or maybe instead of just smacking each other, we just use pillows. We call the next one the pillow fight.
Yes. We apologize every time we
apologize.
hit them.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Maybe this time at the pie factory, we just make pies. We don't throw them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyway, he was going to make that one. Batman and Robin bombs. They say, yeah, no, you're out. and it isn't the end of it, okay? Because, in the years between Batman Begins and Batman and Robin, there was Batman Beyond, there was an idea of, can we do kind of a Batman Beyond type film? I am really upset that never happened, because I think that's a great story to tell. But there was, what was that?
Do it now with Keaton.
Oh yeah, do it now with Keaton. But you had Darren Aronofsky, his attempt at doing a Batman movie, which was considered way too fucking dark, like real fucking dark, like R-rated level.
I don't even think that's his fault, because he had crazy Frank Miller doing the screenplay. Just like Alfred is an auto mechanic named Big Al, and Batman's homeless, and all this, like, just
Jim Gordon is introduced with a gun on a toilet. He's gonna shoot himself because he's in Gotham City.
Classic Frank Miller stuff.
Mom, I want to go see the new Batman movie.
It's like, hey, what about Bruce Wayne's mom? Could she be a hooker? No, Frank.
Well, I'm just thinking, what would the merchandising be for a Darren Aronofsky Batman? Would it be, yes, you can get a pack of Big Al's cigarettes at Toys R Us?
Requiem for a Bat.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Bat to bat.
Oh,
God, so horrible. But yeah, that failed. But here's the funny thing about that. That script actually was read by Christian Bale. And Christian Bale went in to go and audition for that one, but Warner Brothers canned it already. So you technically would not have Batman Begins had they not gone that dark and that crazy, because it kind of brought Christian Bale into the fold a little bit. But there also was like a Batman versus Superman that was kind of floated. Not Batman v Superman.
Yeah. I remember hearing about that.
That ultimately led to the director kind of getting to film Troy, which I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Oh, that's right. It was Wolfgang Peterson, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Wolfgang. It wasn't. I think he wrote. I was wrong. He wrote Troy. He didn't film.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was. There were a lot of these different incarnations, and the one thing that none of them ever fucking got was making the Batman movie about fucking Batman.
I understand that, but the thing is,
crazy concept there.
Batman, with maybe the exception, you could make an argument for Spider-Man. It has the greatest rogues gallery out there, and when you have Batman who's studious and lives by a code, and doesn't laugh, and it takes himself so damn seriously, you need a guy like the Joker or the Penguin or the Riddler to spice it up a little bit. The Batman's the straight man, and his rogues gallery are the the not the comic relief, but the more interesting character. So I kind of understand why most directors don't focus entirely on Batman. But the problem is that if you're a Batman fan, you're a Batman fan. You want the movie to be about Batman.
Yeah. And that was my whole thinking. And honestly, like at the time that Batman Begins came out, I was like, how are they going to do this? And I didn't think that you could do a Batman movie that wasn't centered on a villain, because that's all we were kind of fed were these properties that were centered on villains.
If you do a Batman movie, you got to have the Joker.
Who's the villain going to be?
If you do the Ninja Turtles, it's got to be Shredder. Yeah. I think this really kicked off the first origin movie, and the Thing has a secondary villain so that you can ratchet it up for the second movie kind of thing.
Yeah. It definitely does. And also misdirection. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I totally thought that Liam Neeson was not Ra's al Ghul, and I'm going to call him Ra's al Ghul because that's his name. It's not Raz. I don't give a shit what Christopher Nolan. It's not Ra's al Ghul. It's Ra's. God damn it! I watched the Batman animated series, but I didn't. I feel bad for our audio only audience. Just got blasted in the ear by that.
Sorry.
But like, they did misdirection where like they were like, oh yes, that Liam Neeson's Ducard. I'm like, okay. And then of
Ken
course,
Watanabe as your
Ra's al Ghul.
As Ra's al Ghul, yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, I can believe that. And then it's a misdirection. I'm like, oh, okay.
He's kind of wasted in this movie, Ken Watanabe. But at the same time, it's like, if you're in the biggest tentpole comic book movie of the year, are you really wasted?
No.
Was
Yeah.
Ken Watanabe that big in
I
the
think
West at the time?
I think he just kind of like 2 years early come off The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Right.
Which that's Hollywood for you. The Last Samurai, Tom Cruise. But yeah,
It's not a bad film. I actually like Last Samurai.
Yeah, I think that kind of like got him attention, in the West. So I think that, I know I recognized him when I went to see Batman Begins as I'm like, oh, that's that guy from Last Samurai.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Nolan basically pitched this film as it's a deconstruction of Batman. And it's treating it in his 15-minute pitch. He had 15 minutes to pitch this movie. He pitched it as, I want to do what Richard Donner did for Superman, but for Batman. That was it. And if you watch Richard Donner's Superman, you get it. Like, majority of that movie is Clark Kent. It's Kal-El. It's not Superman in tights. That's the back half of it.
Kal-El, no. Yeah. But one thing too is, I don't know if he brought this up in the pitch, is that like his focus was so primarily on keeping this grounded as much as you possibly can. Like, okay, let's find logic of how he got his suit, how he got his weapons, how he got his car. The villains aren't going to be otherworldly. Like, and that's actually the Batman that I prefer. Like, don't get me wrong, I love it all. If it's Batman, I love it. But Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, Clayface, like, if I was making a Batman project, I wouldn't want to use characters that are, I don't want to say otherworldly, but a little more fantastical. I would want to keep it grounded as well. It's also why I hate what Batman exists, in the other large DC universe, because him being his own character, like, and being a real human being makes it interesting. The idea that there's gods, in towns over that can just solve his problems in 5 seconds kind of defeats that purpose. But also, they also completely emasculate him. And Brian, I know what you're going to say in response, that there's things in the comics where he figured out how to kill them all. I understand that, but like,
He did.
but when Superman could just,
he's got contingencies upon contingencies to kill the entire Justice League.
but when it's like
motherfucking Batman.
when Batman can't figure out how to stop the Joker, and then Superman could just fly in the building and punch him into the sun
First
in
of
5
all,
seconds.
First
It's just
of
like,
all,
I don't want him to be in that. I want him to be in his own world.
First of all, Batman has every capability of fucking killing the Joker. He just chooses not to. That's the whole idea. It's not that Batman can't kill. It's that he chooses not to go that path. And this movie really hammers that home in so many ways.
The only one, I guess, Batman and Robin, but it's the only one, because even in Batman Forever, he commits manslaughter against Two-Face. Like, he knows what he's doing when he throws those coins up.
Oh yeah,
yeah, he's killing him, so Robin doesn't have to.
Well, yeah,
Which
he is.
Which I actually think is kind of beautiful and poetic. That's a sidebar here about Batman Forever, is that he keeps telling Robin the whole movie, like, if you kill, you're going to be haunted by it for the rest of your life, in a sense of like, I killed the Joker and I can't sleep at night because I killed the Joker. But he wants vengeance for Dick Grayson, but he doesn't want Dick to go down the same path, so he does it for him, which is kind of it's
You might be giving that movie way too much credit.
It's sweet and deranged at the same time.
Listen, I know that there's now, and Brett, I jump in if you think, I know there's now a renewed appreciation for Batman Forever.
Yeah.
Brett, are you in that camp of like, oh yeah, Batman Forever has a better cut? I don't know.
I mean, I want to see it. I'm not gonna say I don't want it. Like, if I'm one of those, like, I want to see that version of the movie.
Yeah,
I've always been a fan of Batman Forever, but I understand the reasons why people may not like it.
Yeah.
I understand I enjoy the campiness. I enjoy the characters. The only character that after a recent watch that I can't get behind anymore is Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. He is just the Joker again. Like he's just being the Joker, but as Two-Face, which has always just been something I've disliked about that character. Where if you watch the animated series Two-Face, there's just so much more to the character.
Good. Such a good character in the animated series.
Well, he's just such a bitter asshole because he doesn't like the idea that Jim Carrey is going to be the focus. So he has to try to out over the top Jim, but
that's not possible.
Yeah. But
he tries really hard. It's like the most eccentric I've ever seen Tommy Lee Jones on film is him as Harvey Dent, Two-Face in Batman Forever.
But what do you guys think about what I had to say? Like, do you like the more fantastical Batman stuff like Poison Ivy or Clayface, or do you like your Batman more grounded in reality?
Brett, you're the guest. You go first.
I wish there was a middle ground. I wish there was an in-between between that like super fantastical and the grounded, because sometimes the grounded can get old, especially when you're watching the Dark Knight trilogy, especially when you get to like Dark Knight Rises and you see some of like the fight scenes and you just see like how certain things kind of play out and you're just like, I don't understand what's going on. And I don't like this very slow fighting style where the fantastical stuff really, I don't know. It just gives it a nice flair when you're watching the fight scenes. It's just the way that they're shot. It's fun. I don't know. I wish there was a middle ground. It's really hard to say. I like them both in certain ways. As somebody who idolized the animated series, I just wanted that in live action. I just can we just take everything that's happening in there and just put it into live action, please?
I think that's what we've all wanted. Like I've also been in that same camp of and I think I said this like right before the Batman came out. I'm like, can we just have somebody take the fucking animated series and just I don't even care if you just pull the scripts from it. Take like 5 scripts, mash them together into like an hour plus movie and film it like with live action. Just as you said, Brett, like, can we just get that? Is that so hard?
Like we have Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Why was that never brought to live action? That was a beautiful,
by far the best Batman film ever.
Disney does it all the time. They could like Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, all that. Like, just do a live action version of Mask of the Phantasm.
But those are soulless. Those are soulless.
Right. Well, I mean, Warner.
You watch them and your soul gets sucked out.
Yeah.
I just saw the Lilo and Stitch one, and it was not as bad. And I only went because my daughter wanted to go see it, so it's like, all right, fine.
It's funny because it's not to sidetrack even more, but like How to Train Your Dragon just came out with their live action version. Yeah. And to be honest, people that I've talked to about it who've seen it says it's actually good. And I'm like, it's wild that DreamWorks can do one live action and they're already way ahead of Disney, and Disney's been on like almost 20 now.
Yeah. To answer your question, John, I also kind of like Brett. I like a mix of both. I really do. Like, part of me really loves the grounded in reality stuff just because it makes Batman more accessible. Like for me at least, like I never really liked Forever. I definitely never really liked Batman and Robin.
Not even when you were 10, Brian.
Not really. It was a thing where when I was 10, I was like, oh, well, it's Batman, I gotta like it. And I definitely was like, oh, I like this, but not nearly at the level of my love of Returns and the original. But it was just like, oh, cool. Okay. Well, it's not Michael Keaton. And that's problematic. And And then like, I know that there is a subset of the Batman fandom that absolutely loves Ben Affleck as Batman. I fucking hate it. Like, I've never, ever liked him as Bruce Wayne. Never liked him as Batman.
Okay, so you don't like him as
It's
Batman?
not even him. It's not even him because like when he first was announced as going to be Batman, and John, you can go back to our archives. I said that I was interested in seeing how it was going to play out. I thought it was going to be okay.
Well, one thing I will say,
as over time, I've just really disliked it.
One thing I will say in defense of Ben Affleck, wanting to kind of get it back towards Batman Begins, is this entire movie, Batman Begins. I mean, it is so obvious that Bruce Wayne is trying to draw attention to himself. Like I'm not Batman. Look at me. I'm swimming in a fountain in a restaurant. How could I be Batman? I'm so silly. And it's like, it's
a hotel
Batman.
He just bought, John.
Yeah. I'm like, that's clearly Batman because he's like the one kid in middle school that's calling everybody else gay because he's gay himself and he's scared about it. Like he's projecting. But the Ben Affleck Batman, like when he's swarmy in that movie, I'm like, oh God, I wouldn't want to be within 10 feet of this guy. Like I wouldn't, like when, Superman comes up to him and he's like, hey, I work for the Daily Planet. He's like, oh yeah, what do I own that one or something? I'm like, God, this guy's such a douche. Like he nails swarmy Bruce Wayne to draw the scent away. Like I think he does swarmy better than any other Bruce Wayne out there.
Yeah.
He takes Alfred's advice way too literal. When he's like, you need to, have a persona so that people won't figure it out that what you're doing as your side job. And then, he does the whole thing at the restaurant. You're like, okay, I think that went a little too far.
I don't know. I actually want to like Batman. And when I see Ben Affleck as Batman or Bruce Wayne, I'm like,
I'm not saying he's asshole. I'm not saying
I get that. I'm just saying
I think he hides best.
The biggest problem with that is that he was written terribly. The writing was horrible.
Yeah. I almost would wonder if he did a movie like Batman Begins, how that would play out and if it would be a little bit better. Although I think Christian Bale is the perfect person for this particular film and universe.
But let me ask you guys this in terms of like getting like back directly to Batman Begins. Were you excited or nervous at all about Batman Begins? Because I can say, as a Burton fan and loving those movies, I was almost like a little bit jaded that they rebooted the franchise and not with him and just a whole new approach. But that didn't mean I wasn't excited to go see it. Like, what were your guys' feelings on the lead up to Batman Begins coming out?
Brett?
I was 13 when Batman Begins came out, so I just saw that a new Batman movie was coming out, and I got excited. I as a kid, I watched all of from '89 all the way to Batman and Robin all the time. I wore my grandma's VHS tapes out. I loved Batman, and so it being that 8-year gap. And finally seeing a trailer for a new Batman, I was just excited. As soon as you see Batman on the screen, I was sold. So it wasn't like I don't think I had any, inklings like, oh man, how's this going to be? I'd never heard of Christopher Nolan. I really wasn't aware of Christian Bale much. So but I still it was just Batman for me. I wanted to see a new Batman movie.
I was very nervous. Very, very nervous. So I'm telling my age here. So in 2005, when this movie came out, I was probably around 18.
You were 20.
Was it 20? Yeah, 20. Oh, man.
I know, because we're the same age.
Yeah, we're the same age. So yeah, I was 20. Or just about to be 20. I would have been 19 when this movie came out. So this was June of 2005. So I was 19 years old, and I remember just being so afraid of them fucking this up. I was terrified of it. But at the same time, it wasn't until I saw the trailers, like the full trailer for it, that I'm just like, holy shit. Like I remember seeing the trailer. I forget what movie I'd seen prior that had the trailer for it.
Finding Neverland.
Yeah, sure.
That's it.
Sure, of course it was that. It must, it was probably like Matrix Reloaded, probably that, or
Charlie and the
Revolutions, or Revolutions, or whatever those. But anyway, like seeing that trailer, that first trailer, for it really like solidified to me like, oh wow, this is something special. And like I already was a fan of Christian Bale because of American Psycho. So I knew who he was. So I'm like, oh, the American Psycho guy is going to be this. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't look anything like Batman and Robin. I'm like, okay. And then seeing it in the theaters, I was blown the fuck away. And I was just like, this is amazing. I didn't know that a Batman movie could be made for adults.
And
that's the first thing. It's a Batman movie for grown-ups.
And I do have to hand it to the Warner Brothers executives for this movie in the sense that they sabotaged Batman and Robin. They let the toy manufacturers run that whole thing. And it was not that it wasn't successful. Like if you look at the box office numbers for Batman and Robin, it is a success, but it was an embarrassment to the point where Warner Brothers went, we need to fucking course correct. We need to figure this shit out. So that when Christopher Nolan came in, it's like, I have a vision. I have the idea. It's going to be mostly targeted towards adults. We're not going to see Batman till an hour in, but before that's going to be like his origin story. And it's going to be as grounded in reality as humanly possible when you tell a story about a guy dressed up like a bat. And they went, well, we fucked up so hard last time. What do we have to lose? Let's listen to this English guy and just hope that he doesn't fuck us.
Yeah. Well, I want to pivot a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about some of the themes in this film. Because this movie especially play, and I've noticed that all of the Dark Knight trilogy films play on specific themes. But I'll just ask you all, what do you all think the primary theme of this film is? And Brett, I'll start with you because you're the guest.
I guess discovering yourself, like figuring out who you are. It's the whole thing. This is the first time we actually see a full origin of Batman on screen. We got the idea in '89, and of course, like every Batman movie, you get the whole flashback of his parents dying. But like this is, from the beginning, as it states in the title, to his first big battle with a villain. So I think it's like, and it's Bruce discovering who he is. It's about figuring out whether or not he, pretty much figuring out who he is based on being able to control what he's afraid of, and what he can control, if that makes any sense.
John, what about you?
I think sacrifice, the sense that like for the greater good, that Bruce Wayne essentially gives up his entire life, any sense of enjoyment outside of this sole purpose he has to not just avenge his parents, but just to avenge the criminality that he sees. And it's actually something I wish they had pulled more from. I know this movie has examples of crooked cops in it, like Gordon's partner, Bullock. But like
Flask, not Bullock.
Flask, Bullock. Sorry, I'm thinking the animated series. But like, we do see corruption in the police force. But like, the idea of Batman just existing, if there was law and order, is that he's very fascistic. But the idea of Batman existing, like in the Frank Miller Year One, where the cops and the politicians are in the pockets of the mob, and they're doing nothing to make this world better because they're profiting off of it. We need a Batman. We need somebody. And so I think it's sacrifice for the greater good. And it kind of makes him, when you go back to your lit courses, he's kind of like the Christ figure, in that sense. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm surprised neither of you said fear. Because for me, upon watching this, it is all about fear. How do we as human beings deal with fear and confront fear and use fear for our own needs? Now, I personally think that Batman is that one. I think Bruce Wayne died in Crime Alley. I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
that Batman's I don't think Bruce Wayne's alive anymore. I think he's dead. He died when his parents died.
Brian, Bruce Wayne doesn't put on a mask to become Batman. Batman takes off a mask to become Bruce Wayne.
Yes. So what I'm saying is,
are you talking about as Batman as a whole, or are you talking about just him in this movie?
I'm saying, well, one, I mean, in this movie especially, it drives home the fact that one, Bruce Wayne is completely enveloped in fear, and his whole struggle is how to overcome the fear, how to not only be molded by it and not dive into vengeance and not dive into something, but actually become something greater through fear. Because, and I never realized this until rewatching it, but like at no point prior to this film is it ever explained why Batman chose bats as his archetype. Like it's never, I mean, we get the whole classic comic of the bat like smash through his window, but like, it's just like, oh yeah, that's kind of scary, but it's not scary to Bruce. Bruce isn't terrified of it. It's this movie that really like drives home that he is terrified of bats. He's terrified of what that represents, which ultimately is the PTSD of seeing his parents die in front of him. Right. Mm-hmm. And he's using it. He's molded by it. And instead of going down the path of vengeance, which he almost does, he decides to become something greater. But I do think, and this is just for me, I do think that there is no Bruce Wayne anymore. It's as you said, John, Bruce Wayne's the mask that he puts on. Batman's the real person there. Like the voice that we hear when Batman's got the mask on, like that's actually him. like the not, you know, the Playboy voice, that's all the mask. That's the illusion.
I think it was always implied in the first Batman movie, the fact that he was this kind of Howard Hughes recluse. Like, you know, even the reporters in the town didn't know what he looked like because, like, you know, he's a billionaire trust fund baby. He just lives in the mansion, goes out and fights crime, doesn't interact with other people. Like, you know, it was a little more kind of underwritten where it's like, in this one, they lay it out a lot more, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but it's just giving more nuance and layering to the Batman character.
One thing I did want to ask you guys about, and this is an interesting thing, and this is again from rewatching this recently, because I've seen this a million times, but you know, it's always fun when you get to rewatch a movie that you've seen a bunch because you discover some new things. Now, I think it's like by and large thought of that Batman is very much a fascist type of character, right? Like he's always kind of seen as that type of guy. But I don't think he is, at least in this movie. Okay. And here's why I say that. Okay. His main villain in this movie is who? It is Ra's al Ghul, who has a very black and white mentality towards justice and crime. He is willing to just kill everybody because they represent criminality and injustice. That is very fascistic. Okay. Black and white. There's no, gray area. It's just bad, good. Batman, on the other hand, he lives among the criminals for a bit in this movie. He empathizes with them to some degree. And he just decides he's not going to go down the path of murder because, and he ends up fighting the very people that he would have aligned himself if he was more of a fascist character. So I guess my thoughts are, what are your thoughts on this kind of change a little bit from what has historically been viewed as this character with Batman?
Brian, we live in a society. No, we.
I know I'm pulling out my film like diplomas here. Okay, I know it's a little more than that.
Well, and there's 1,000 things wrong with Western democracy, but we live by the ideology that we have appointed police officers, district attorneys, lawyers, judges, what have you, that we have agreed through vote or what have you, that they are the justice of the country. the idea of the vigilante is, this romanticized here because he doesn't kill and everything, but depending on what version of Batman you're looking at, like, he still goes out and breaks people's backs and legs and takes the law into his own hands. Like, I don't have any problem with it morally because it's a comic book. It's not reality, but I would think I would have a very big problem with Batman if he existed in our real world. I think the best Batman stories are grounded in Batman's the only person that can take care of this. And I don't mean to go to a video game, but it was Arkham Origins. They had Firefly, and it was one of those things that Firefly had basically trapped the police and Gordon behind a wall of flames. They couldn't do anything to solve the problem, so Batman had to step in and solve the issue and then save the police. Like, I think it's an issue where if you see something in a movie where the police could have handled it and Batman just came in and fucked up property and horrifically injured a bunch of people because of his bloodlust as a fascistic gimp who likes to punch clowns and penguins in the face, that's when you have a problem. That's where there's a gray moral area.
Yeah. Brett, your thoughts on this whole argument of is Batman a fascist in this movie or not?
It's tough because I see where he's coming from. The fact that you were talking about the fact that he lived amongst the criminals, he sees all sides of that world, and I think when he faces Ra's al Ghul and the Scarecrow in this, it's someone who was his mentor, and he wants to prove a point of what his whole ideology is on what he's trying to do with Gotham. And then the Scarecrow is just kind of a throwaway character. Like, he's just kind of there.
Unfortunately.
In this, and he is kind of a throwaway character.
As much as I like Cillian Murphy, I think he does a great job as Jonathan Crane. It's just, he's not like Ra's al Ghul is your villain of this movie. Yeah. And to be honest, I don't even think it's just Ra's al Ghul. I think it's all the law enforcement and everything. Cause like they talk about how like all of law enforcement is pretty much corrupt. You have like Gordon, you don't even know if Commissioner Loeb is, in
the comics, he is very corrupt. Like in the year one Batman, he's a very corrupt commissioner. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I almost view it as Gotham is the main villain.
Yeah.
In this movie,
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
And Batman is he is seeing even the sliver of hope that Gotham can change. And this is his year one, right? This is our year one. So this is Batman just trying to figure it all out. And then once you get to the Dark Knight, that's when his eyes are even more opened by what he has to deal with the Joker and with, Harvey Dent and all of the things that go on in that movie. I won't go any farther with that, but that's kind of, I think, where we see Bruce / Batman in Batman Begins is he's figuring it all out. Mm-hmm. So I think the problem is that as much as I love this trilogy, I think the problem is that they didn't have him make mistakes.
Yeah.
Where I think there should have been, I think he should have killed the Joker in The Dark Knight. And not like just to kill him, but I think it should have been like kind of how Batman 89 ended, with the Joker falling off.
It's funny you bring that up because like I almost wonder, had he killed the Joker, that would have been a better better connection. I'll go with that. A better connection to the Dark Knight Rises version of Bruce, who's very much just like, as you said, John, he's like the Howard Hughes at that point. He's pissing in mason jars and, he hasn't been outside in like years. And that's whole thing. People, he's got fingernails growing. So like it fits more with that.
But it disrupts the entire screenplay of the Dark Knight.
I know it disrupts the entire screenplay, but like I think that sort of thing would be more of a kind of line. Although he technically does kill
Harvey Dent.
Yeah, he technically does kill Harvey Dent.
And well, honestly, let's be fair here. Spoiler alerts on a 20-year-old movie that if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't seen it,
why
doing? But what he does at the end of this movie with Ra's al Ghul, I'm just gonna do it because it's easier off the tongue. Ra's al Ghul. That's manslaughter.
No, it's not. He just didn't save him.
That's called manslaughter, bro.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows
except for him.
Technically, Gordon was also implicated. He's an accessory to manslaughter. Okay, because he was. I mean, technically, Gordon should be seriously arrested for destroying a fucking train.
Well, there's a lot of gray areas even with like the Burton one, because I'm not convinced that Batman simply didn't tie the Joker to that gargoyle to keep him from flying away. And because Gotham's so like putrid, the fucking thing just broke off because it wasn't maintained. And so I don't think he went, oh shit, I killed that motherfucker. I didn't mean to. I just didn't want him to leave.
By the time he got to Batman Returns, he's just like, yeah, I'm going to blow up clowns.
I was going to say, he blows up a circus performer, just throws him in a hole, throws dynamite, and just smiles as he walks away.
I have to say this as an audio person. You hear a oof when the bomb goes off, so I think he lived.
That guy is not living. I mean, I know that like
if the bomb goes off, he doesn't go ouchie. He just dies.
He's that circus performer who actually eats explosives. Yeah, doesn't actually kill him.
Oh shit! Well, one thing I did want to point out as a negative on this film, and I'm curious on your thoughts on this. I really don't like Katie Holmes in this. And it's not so much her.
I don't like the character. It's
not.
The character.
Here's the thing, man. It's not so much her. It's every fucking line she has. She's reading it like she's a walking meme.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just rewatched this obviously last night in prep.
Yeah, I watched it last night too.
She's not as bad as I remember.
It's pretty bad.
Maggie Gyllenhaal is better.
Yes.
But she's not as bad as I remember, but like her whole purpose there is to be the incorruptible exposition machine to help Bruce Wayne like realize what he's
really painful to watch. Like the whole scene when after Bruce has not shot and killed Joe Chill because Carmine Falcone beat him to the punch. She's giving him this dress down like bullshit, like how dare you look at all this stuff, look at the real Gotham, blah blah blah. What's her line, like what does the city do if good people do nothing, that sort of bullshit. Like I'm just like,
that's on the page.
I know that's on the page, and that's my whole point is like every fucking line she has is like that.
Nolan's got some pretty clunky dialogue, not just in his Batman movies, but all of his movies. Like, I think back to The Dark Knight when the helicopter's crashing. I didn't sign up for this. That's not good. I didn't sign up for this. I'm like, really? That's like college writing. But, the writing's not her fault. But I will say this. The casting's not her fault either. She wants to be in a Batman movie. She wants that paycheck. But as a casting director, she is miscast. She's not the right person for this role. She's right for 100 other roles, but this is not a character that should have been played by Katie Holmes.
I don't think this character should exist.
She doesn't in the comics. Yeah,
I'm curious. What's your thoughts on Rachel?
I don't like that she is his motivation to a degree. Like he sees what he could have with her and it kind of motivates him to make certain decisions. And it's like, you take her out and he could still find motivation through Alfred, through what he's seen with Ra's al Ghul or Ducard at the time. And you also have other strong female characters in the Batman universe that they could have thrown in there. They could have just changed them up, but it could have been Vicky Vale. It could have been, was Chase Meridian a comic character? Was she in the comics?
No,
I don't know. But she was an invention.
Okay, so it's pretty much the same as this, but I don't know. It just, to me, she's better written in The Dark Knight, so I don't dislike her as much. But her character in this just kind of seems very like what is she even doing here type thing.
There's one precise reason why she's here, and Brian, I think you know what I'm going to say.
Oh
Tom
God,
Cruise?
no! This is a you're in for a treat, Brett. This is a classic cinema psychos trope. Where
It's
John
so that
says this.
it's
Go
so
ahead,
that,
please.
Yep. It's that Bruce has a case of the not gays.
And there it is.
Warner Brothers has got. We got to put a woman in it. First off, there's no women in this at all, but we got to put a woman in it so that people know that Bruce has got a case of the not gays.
Yeah, because there's no Boy Wonder in this movie at all, and yeah, that's kind of a thing. I can't stand her every time she's on screen in this movie. Like, it's just it would be easier if her dialogue was based in reality.
Well, the two biggest problems I have with her is not even her dialogue. It's that because the plot needs it, Scarecrow goes, "You want to see my evil plan?"
He brings her to the basement. He's like,
he does.
Look at my room.
He's like, I want to show you something, and I immediately would go like, why would you follow him?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go
and
home.
why would you do that? You're this genius,
why would you follow
Jonathan Crane? But then later in the movie, when everybody's involved with the fear gas, she's just a fucking girl boss and does not get infected by the toxin and just electrocutes Scarecrow and just.
Well, she did take the antidote there. So
she had the antidote.
Yeah,
she had the antidote. She was inoculated.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, she had the stun gun. So she had to use it somehow.
And
she used it on Batman earlier.
She had Joffrey from Game of Thrones next to her.
Yep.
The funny things about that, like, everyone's like, Batman should have fucking killed Joffrey at the time. Should just fucking throw him from the fire escape.
It's like if
Jesus
you could go.
Christ, dude.
It's like if you could go back and kill baby Hitler, would you do it? It's that same situation.
Okay, so obviously I want to get to some reviews because I have some reviews.
Right. Please tell me you found some bad ones. I'm curious.
Oh, I did.
Good.
I found bad ones. So Brett, have you've watched our podcast before where we go into some reviews from like Letterboxd?
Yes. Oh yes.
Okay, so I've got
your Maximum Overdrive episode.
Okay, I've got some good ones here. So I picked for those who are uninitiated. I have found on the interwebs 4 reviews of this movie, specifically from Letterboxd, because why not? And we're going to take a look at them and we're going to react to them. So are you all ready for review number 1?
I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Okay. So review number 1 is: could not take Bruce Wayne seriously whenever he wore a suit. Like, I'm sorry, that is just Patrick Bateman to me.
That's typecasting, and that's not fair.
Still gave it a 4 stars though.
Yeah, still give it a 4 stars. That was still a 4-star one.
That's a weird like nitpick. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? 5 out of 5 stars. Love this movie. Hated that the characters wore shoes.
I didn't like how he talked.
Yeah.
His walk was a little weird.
I didn't like the fact that he looked like a businessman, and the previous movie had him looking like a businessman. It's called acting. Okay? It's called acting. Like, I don't get this. It's like, well, he was a serial killer businessman in one movie. He just can't ever wear a suit in any film ever again because of that.
Boy, they're gonna be real mad when they see Cheney.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Or Equilibrium. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
shit.
did this same person have a problem with the fact that in American Psycho he wasn't singing songs in a Japanese internment camp?
Oh, that's a deep cut there. Was
Empire
that
of
Rising
the
Sun?
Sun. Empire of the Sun.
Empire of the Sun. That's right. That's right. Deep cut. All right, let's go to review number 2. The first hour was genuinely insufferable and a good example of why Nolan sucks.
God damn.
Still gave it a 3. I don't.
Yeah, still gave it a 3.
6 out of 10.
You know,
Oh,
it's look, I appreciate the first half of this film. And Brian, I think it's very interesting because I hadn't heard that he wanted it to be like the first Superman movie where we spent all this time learning about Clark Kent. It's that you can have different approaches. Like Batman 89 just starts with him as Batman, and you kind of glean things as the movie goes along. But like with this one, I appreciate learning where Bruce came from and how he is the world's greatest detective and greatest ninja and has all this experience and, you know, that he learned in the mountains, you know, and it's just not just assumed that he's the greatest at everything. It shows how he learned and how he took his trauma and turned it into positive energy, you know?
Yeah. I don't get. Well, no, I'm correcting myself. I know why reviews like that happen. Okay. And I'm going to be an old man for a minute here. Okay. It is because, unfortunately, movie-going audiences currently cannot handle not being force-fed the plot every 5 seconds. Well, I really do believe that. I think that there is, like, this movie came out in 2005. It has a much slower pace than The Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises. It has a much slower pace than any of the Marvel films that have ever come out. Maybe except for Eternals, because that one was slow as shit and terrible. Okay. But it's slow. It is based on character. And then if you are someone who's like, I just want to see fucking Batman, you know, John, as you said, you don't see him for the first hour. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to say that, but you if you hadn't, but you just did. I guess some people literally just want to see Batman ninja kick people for 2 hours straight, and they went, "That was the greatest movie ever because he's Batman the whole time and he kick ass." Yeah. You know, like they don't want character development. I knew that watching Logan, where the first like third of the movie is just this depressed man that wants to die having to take a bald man to the crapper. It's just like a lot of people are gonna be like,
"Oh, Wolverine
went to cut somebody." Yeah.
What's your adventure this time around, Logan? Oh well, I had to go pick up meds for Charles
and then take him to the dumper.
Yeah. I tried to test my claw and it didn't come out all the way.
Yeah,
is that an euphemism for?
I'm having.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Only happens, you know, every once in a while. There's pills for that.
Yeah. I would love if he was drunk and his claws came out limp.
Like, oh shit!
Sorry,
I swear.
Normally happens.
I swear that never happens.
Yeah,
never.
Adamantium's acting up today.
Oh shit! I don't know what happened there. But yeah, I really do believe that. I think the audience, and I almost wonder if like that person really loved Batman v Superman, and especially that moment where everyone's like, "Oh my god, did you see the moment where Ben Affleck busts through like a wall?" It's like, yes, he's got one thing. He's got one scene, one fucking scene. Good job, one scene. But that's all they want. They want that.
Then play.
And this is not that.
Yeah, play the Arkham.
That warehouse scene in Batman v Superman is pretty awesome.
Oh, it is pretty awesome. It's absolutely fucking awesome.
It's probably
a banger.
It's
the only good thing in that whole movie.
This might sound controversial. Might be one of the greatest live action Batman fights.
It's because it looks like a video game.
Yeah, 100%. It looks like an Arkham game where he's just sliding everywhere, doing crazy moves.
Yeah, and that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm also going like, you can't compare the two. You can't expect that. And it's like, we got over the top Batman in his suit the whole time 8 years prior to Batman Begins. It was called Batman and Robin. It sucked balls. Okay. So like,
yep.
What do you want?
This person is probably simply, oh, I thought Arnold was funny. Why can't I be more like that one? Well, a bunch of gadgets.
I mean, Arnold is the best part of that.
Arnold is the best part in that movie.
He is trying his hardest.
Yes.
He knew he knew the assignment.
Yeah, he did. All right, let's go to review number 3. The Batman destroyed our beautiful loop rail system for no reason. Do you know how long it would take the CTA to rebuild those tracks? The Batman is a terrorist.
This is an actual person from the movie who worked for
No, I see. I think this is just some engineer with it, like
yes.
when it's like when if somebody blows up a toilet in a movie, I wonder if a plumber's like, "You fuck."
He's like, I hate it. When people don't like when dogs die in movies, that's what plumbers are when they see like blown pipes and
You're like, do you
destroyed
know how
toilets. He's
long
like,
it
"Nope."
would take to unclog that toilet?
He's like, turn it off. I can't watch anymore.
My mom like second guesses a lot of like psychology as a crazy person. No, I'm sorry, as a psychologist. In movies, my mother-in-law is a lawyer and questions a lot of like lawyer stuff in movies. So I guarantee this person's a civil engineer or a railroad worker. It's just like this fucking bullshit. Fuck you, Batman.
Well, just what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that scene in Batman Returns when Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer are walking together and they're like in their alter egos, like and they're just talking. He's like, "Oh, did you see the news? Batman caused more property damage."
Like, Batman blows it.
Batman blows it. He saved the city hundreds of thousands of dollars in property damage
alone.
Alone. It's like, oh god. But yeah, you're right. Like that's someone whose job every day in and day out is being a civil engineer, and they're just like, that motherfucker blew up that train for no reason.
Well, speaking of that whole railway,
can
we just talk about how, if I have one major issue with this movie, even more than Katie Holmes's character, because again, not her fault. She wasn't properly cast. The script wasn't very good for her. But the whole, like, I think it's oddly like the third opening scene, because Christopher Nolan has a lot of opening scenes with his movies where it's Bruce like, "Hey, Dad, how come we got this railway car?" It's like, "Because, son, we're members of a society and we have to give back to people who don't have a whole lot of money so they can affordably ride our train, because I'm the best man ever, right through our stupid business's poop chute." And, it's like, "Well, Dad, do you work in a business?" It's like, "No, son, I'm a doctor. We have people that run that business for us because I'm too busy saving babies from being blind." And I'm like, okay, can Thomas Wayne be canonized anymore? I actually like stories where you start to find cracks in the Thomas Wayne facade, because that's really what you do if you canonize your father, which, I never truly did, but I used to really appreciate my father until I found out who he really was. Is that, you hope you don't find out too much, but you start to realize that your dad was human, and he had some flaws and he had some issues. So I like the stories more where Thomas Wayne, you find out, is a bit flawed and not just that he was this super saint like we get through the Nolan films here.
Like Joker did. Like what Joker did to the Waynes, especially Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I actually, there's a series that came out a couple of years ago called Pennyworth. Have either of you ever watched it?
I've heard of it.
Aware of it. Yeah. Same thing.
So it's basically like, it starts off first like a prequel to the Batman Begins and that whole universe with like, what if Alfred Pennyworth was young and he was like an British Special Forces person. So it's taking that thing, but they start to weave in like Thomas and Martha Wayne, and they clearly make them flawed. That series also kind of goes off the rails for its later seasons.
Like Gotham.
Yeah, but less so like Gotham, but it definitely gets a little weird. But I like the fact that they make Thomas and Martha Wayne flawed characters. I even like that they did that, especially in The Batman, because Thomas and Martha Wayne are not perfect. And I think that lends itself to more realism. I do think, John, that it is a missed opportunity for this film. I also wonder if the reason why they didn't go down that path is because it is counter to the message and kind of the vibe that they're trying to instill with Batman and Bruce Wayne overcoming their fear. You have to have that archetype, somebody who's like, why do we pick ourselves why do we fall? It's
So we can
to pick ourselves back up. So like you have to have that. And if you had Thomas Wayne as an asshole who at the same moment is also saying like things like, oh, why do we fall? Pick ourselves back up. It makes an extra level of conflict that I don't think that this movie has the room for.
I don't think he has to be an asshole. I think he just has to be slightly flawed. Like I think there's probably a director's cut out there where somewhere where Nolan had him breastfeeding 2 malnourished kittens. Just like, what are you doing, Dad? I'm feeding these kittens. Men can lactate too, son, if they believe enough in themselves.
If you believe enough.
Yeah.
Oh, hilarious. All right, we want to get to review number 4.
Yes.
All right, here's review number 4. This one's a long one.
Oh my God. Okay.
I wish I could give it 0 stars.
Here we go.
The worst Batman to ever Batman. The action is either boring or incredibly hard to follow. The dialogue is laughably bad or just laughable. The plot is a snooze-worthy. Never mind the casting choices. I first watched this as a child and could never understand how it was supposed to be a Batman movie, having loved Burton and Schumacher's takes on the franchise. Glad to know on rewatch I had an absolutely correct opinion on this garbage. People treat this film and its trilogy as the godsend of the DCU and general superhero films. Have any of them tried to actually pay attention to any of these films within the context or in modern day? There's so much amazing history and character to work with in the Batman comic library, and Nolan chooses to make up his own characters, his own dark take on stories, and just generally ruin a good thing. Stop giving him credit for this cringe fest. At least Burton and Schumacher did something entertaining and rewatchable. Holy fucking shit.
Show me on the doll where Christopher Nolan hurt you.
Where did this movie hurt you? Okay. Did this movie find you in the back alley like God. Thomas and Martha Wayne?
Yeah. Look, I can understand like with a new director and their new approach that like it's not your cup of tea, but like God damn, like this, you would have thought that Batman Begins like punched this guy's mom in the titty somehow. If a movie could punch your mom in the hood,
gave his grandfather cancer,
yeah,
or something. Because Lord. First of all, I'm sorry. The Schumacher films are not entertaining.
Yeah, I guess he liked Batman and Robin. So,
I mean, Forever is debatable. To be fair, Forever is debatable. I think there are moments in Batman Forever which are okay, but I also think there are moments in that I'm just going like, what the fuck is going on? Namely has to deal with every time there's a neon covered, hoodlum or something like that. Yeah.
And Chris O'Donnell every time his face shows up.
Chris O'Donnell every time he shows up, or his laundry ninja skills, that sort of shit. But to say that like this movie is boring, it's not. Or to say that this is not at all responsible for the rise in superhero films is extremely ignorant of its place.
Well, I think I know where this person's coming from.
Okay.
They want frivolousness. And the thing is, there is nuance to the first 2 Batman movies if you really dissect them, but you have to go out of your way to dissect them because otherwise it's pop and circumstance, right? Like look at the imagery, look at the bombasticness, and then the 3rd and 4th one, Forever and Robin, like that's just that is complete just frivolous drivel. This person doesn't want to be challenged or have a psychological approach to this. They just want to watch Batman ninja kick clowns in the face. That's all they want, and so this movie making them wait an hour and talk about what it is to suffer through trauma, it's just not their cup of tea, to the point where they call it complete garbage.
Brett, your reaction to this asshole's review. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to call him an asshole, but Jesus Christ, man.
We all have our opinions. That's his. It doesn't matter. He's not saying something about like a woman's right to choose. It's about Batman Begins. It's fine. It's fine.
I know it's fine.
Yeah.
I always find it confusing why people even bother doing this. Like why they even bother watching a movie and then they don't enjoy it. And then they're like, you know what I need to do? I need to let everybody know why I despise this movie. It's like nobody cares.
Yeah.
I mean, people
Yeah.
do care, but it's the same type of person as the person leaving the review, and I don't care. And most people don't care. It's just
It's not like this is Neil Breen.
No. And it's like it's fine if you enjoy the Schumacher and Burton movies more than the Nolan movies or the Batman or whatever. That's fine. But to go through and just rip it apart for some of the dumbest reasons, just to kind of be like, hear my criticism, which half of them are just like, why? Like, just watch a movie. You don't like it, move on. But instead, this is what people do.
I guess the thing is, it's not even that. It's just their opinion is so wrong.
Well, opinions are never wrong, Brian.
No, but in this case, like they're literally disputing facts.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can point to Batman Begins and I can say movies changed after this film came out. The concept of rebooting a main character like that did not exist until this film came out. Okay? No one really did that. Okay? This movie encouraged MGM to reboot James Bond. It also encouraged the studios to reboot Planet of the Apes. Okay? It absolutely changed the course of film history. And it did open the door for films to take a more serious approach to comic book characters beyond what they had done. And I know like people are going to be like, well, what about fucking X-Men? What about Blade? What about Spider-Man? I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about your DC characters primarily. You know?
And those hadn't been rebooted yet.
This encouraged Sony to reboot Spider-Man after Spider-Man 3. Okay? So there is a lot there that you can point to Batman Begins and say, this movie took superhero movies seriously. And let's try to take superhero movies seriously. Now, is that to say that it was always successful? No. Man of Steel is a good use case for this. Man of Steel tries to stretch Superman over Batman's skull, and it doesn't work. Okay? But that's not to say that it wasn't tried in that vein because of that film. What this person's saying is complete bullshit because they're completely ignoring all of that and going off of, John, as you said, I want to see Batman karate chop somebody for 90 minutes total, and this movie made me think. And it hurts my brain.
It comes down to the tone of the character that you're watching as well. Like Batman in his origins was a serious, detective, hard-boiled. I mean, he came out, in gang war America. I think that was part of the reasons that he was presented. The idea of that rather incorrectly, because outside the major cities, it wasn't really happening, that like the mobsters are running the streets and no one's safe. We need somebody more fantastical than the police to save us. But he was a much darker character than, say, Spider-Man, who came out in the early 60s, whose tone has always been much lighter. That's why Sam Raimi was such a good choice to direct those movies. I don't want a light and fluffy Batman in the same way that I don't want a dark and disturbing Spider-Man. You got to know your character.
Yeah.
You got to know where they came from and what the original tone is meant to be.
I think that the thing that I've noticed especially on like social media when it comes to talking about franchises, especially like Batman and the biggest one is Superman right now, since we're getting a new Superman movie, is people just want the same thing over and over again. And I'm the type of person who, when I want to see new iterations of these characters. Like I like the fact that we have all these different versions of Batman. They don't all hit, but at least it's a great conversation piece to kind of look at all the different versions of Batman and kind of compare and contrast of like what was good, what was bad. And so you had your darker toned films with Batman 89 and Batman Returns, and then of course you have the campiness of Forever and Batman and Robin, and then to go back to that dark and gritty version of Batman with the Nolan trilogy. And then we even get the Batman, which I think is even darker than the Nolan version.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've enjoyed almost every single one of those versions of Batman because I like variety. It's the same thing with Superman. I've never been a big fan of Superman.
Yes.
And,
me neither.
I enjoyed watching the 78 Superman when I was a kid. I think it was more of just the filmmaking was what I appreciated the most of that. And then like seeing the different versions of Superman, I was a fan of it. I enjoyed Man of Steel because I wasn't a Superman fan. I went in just being a fan of superhero movies, and I liked Zack Snyder at the time, and I really liked kind of the direction it was going. I know it has its problems, but I still enjoy that movie. And now I'm seeing this new one that's coming out. It's a way different tone than Zack Snyder's version, and I'm in on it. Like I'm sold. Like I've
purposely kept myself away from a lot of it. Like I'm not watching trailers, I'm not watching clips because I really want to go into it. Very cold.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off what you had to say there, like when I think of Superman, I always have wanted to teach a course on understanding film through history's lens. I just can't get into university to take my syllabus. But one thing that I think Batman Begins and the first Superman movie have in common is you have to look at the biggest historical event that happened around them. And the idea of the tagline, "You will believe that a man can fly," 4 years after the fall of Saigon, or no, less than that. Just a couple of years after the fall of Saigon, a few more years since we left Vietnam, we were disenfranchised as a nation. And then when you look at Batman Begins, this is post 9/11 and the invasion of Iraq. So it's going to be a little bit more morose. So we have the polar opposites there, where Superman, like Jaws, I think a little more incidentally, I think it just happened, or Star Wars more appropriately post Vietnam, and then Superman coming out and you will believe a man can fly. Like this is something that the cultural zeitgeist needed at that time, for that character. And I think that is so representational of its time, where I would say the Man of Steel differs, but it's a completely different era. And I would say the thing that most people hate the most about Man of Steel is actually my favorite thing of that movie. And I don't want to sound like a hipster because I've also defended the Martha thing in Batman v Superman, is that when he snapped Zod's neck, that he's clearly shattered by that, because he had no choice. But that is a way, I think, for modern audiences to understand who haven't been, who aren't in the 1930s or haven't been destroyed by Vietnam and desperately need something uplifting, is that moment created his need to be truth, justice in the American way. So I think that for modern audiences, and what was that, like 2008, 9, 10? When did
13?
13? It was 13.
Oh,
it was
Jesus.
13 because it came right after Dark Knight.
Right. Yeah. Was a great way to kind of modernize the canon of Superman, where there's no way in a post 9/11, post Iraq, mission accomplished world that you're going to do the 60s show again. You're not going to do Batman and Robin and Batgirl. It had to have been the way Nolan portrayed it. I call it the comparison, and I'm stealing this from Lindsay Ellis on YouTube. Go check her out, where she compared Independence Day to War of the Worlds. And one was pre 9/11, one was post 9/11. And you can see the giant contrast in those two ways of talking about an alien invasion. And I just think history is so fascinating in the way that we paint these movies, because, like it or not, dear viewers and listeners, Christopher Nolan, every one of his Batman movies is political in a different way. And they're all reflections of the world that Christopher is sitting in.
100%.
Diatribe over. Sorry.
No, it's a good diatribe though, in my opinion. It's something that I don't think is talked nearly enough about the movies reflecting the values and political turmoil at the time. And when you really get down to it, it's like, why does a vigilante seem appealing when at the time everyone is dealing with fear? I remember 9/11. John, I know you do. I mean, Brett, I know you're younger than me, but like, there was a heavy sense of fear.
What grade were you in when that happened?
4th.
Yeah, I was.
So John and I were in high school.
10th grade. Yeah.
So like there was a heavy sense of fear that permeated for years. And the idea of a vigilante rising above all of that stuff to do what they believe was right to solve seemed appealing. And you could say like that makes sense for that time. And like I'll regarding Man of Steel, I also like that part as well. I don't have a problem with a movie as much as other people do. I think Superman purists have a problem with it. Mm-hmm. But I know for me, I like it. I just personally don't like, this is the filmmaker in me, I don't like the color grade to that whole movie.
Like, so you don't like Zack Snyder?
No, I mean, I really don't like his coloring techniques, because it's like, let's make everything brown and barf. Yeah. But in terms of humanizing that character, I like it. I mean, I thought it was actually pretty decent. But I know a lot of people who are just like, they fucking ruined Superman. And I'm sure that after this one comes out, we will hear nothing for the next 6 months of, look what James Gunn did to Superman, because it's going to happen.
Well, see, I could even see a Batman film where, like, a Batman Begins, where Batman is killing people, and then like he justifies it, but at the end he realizes that, like, oh no, I become the monster and I have to reel it in. But I know that
movie exists. It's called The Batman.
Well, he wasn't killing people.
He was getting pretty damn near close.
Yeah.
He was getting pretty damn near close. Killed it. He wasn't even known as Batman. He was just known as Vengeance.
I had to be the symbol.
Oh shit. Well, but I this has been a great discussion. Brett, I want to hear about what's going on with Dissect That Film. So for our listeners who are not familiar with your podcast, tell us about Dissect That Film.
You should be. Yeah.
Thank you. So I am 1/3 of Dissect That Film. I host it with my wonderful co-hosts, Dan and Angela. Pretty much what we do is we dissect the plots of all sorts of movies. We don't talk about specific or like one specific genre. We talk about anything we want, and we just slowly go through the plots, dissecting them in our own special way. Currently we are going through, I don't know when this will be out, but as of this recording, we are going through our Jaws clone month, which we're talking about a bunch of movies that are kind of related to Jaws. So we've talked about,
that is awesome.
We talked about Tremors. We talked about 1979's Prophecy, which is a movie a lot of people don't know about.
Not the Christopher Walken.
No,
Prophecy
it's just called Prophecy. It's a mutant bear movie from the late 70s. John Frankenheimer. And then we are currently we talked about 1982's Parasite, which was an early Charles Band movie. And then we talked about
right before he did Dolls.
Oh, that was so that it was like his second movie he ever directed. So it was
Okay.
like before Empire, before Full Moon. It was early Charles Band. And then we ended the month with talk about Jaws. We talk about 50 years of Jaws. So it's a big old
I saw it's like a 3-hour. Yeah.
It's a big one. It's a very big one. So.
By the way, I saw that you did something on No Holds Barred. Are you a wrestling fan, or did you guys just pick that random?
Wrestling.
So I'm trying to remember exactly how that all went down, but in our Discord, one of our fellow podcasters and friend of mine, Charlie, who ended up being the guest on that episode, suggested it, and so I just said, "Screw it, let's cover it." Because I've always one of the jokes on the show is I don't like Hulk Hogan. Like
Nobody
I don't like him
anymore.
and it's not even a joke. It's like the
No
truth. I
me.
don't like Hulk Hogan. And I went on his show to talk about a couple Hulk Hogan movies. So my punishment was I needed to talk about one on my own. So we did No Holds Barred.
You didn't want to do Suburban Commando?
That one will get covered at some point because that is another one that I remember watching as a kid and actually thoroughly enjoying because
Me
of Christopher
too.
Lloyd
I was like
and
6.
Shelley Duvall.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
I was frozen today. No, but yeah, Brian and I have talked about this, but neither of us can commit to watching this much Hulk Hogan. Is that we have a pantheon of other shit. So I thought, what if we did the whole movie and TV run of Hulk Hogan and called it a plop light instead of a spotlight?
No.
There's a big old turn light on Hulk Hogan's.
There's so much though, John. Like there's so much.
We don't have to watch Thunder in Paradise. Okay?
I was gonna say, like, there's Thunder in Paradise. Isn't there like? Didn't he do another one? He did a couple.
Santa with muscles.
Yes.
So I was on a show a friend of mine runs called B Action, where they literally talk about all sorts of B Action movies, and I was on for 2 episodes covering Assault on Devil's Island and Assault on. I can't remember what the second one is called, but there were 2 TV movies that Hulk Hogan did with like Carl Weathers and was it Sharon Tweed? Is it Shannon Tweed?
Shannon
Tweed, yeah.
Yeah. And
It was
that was
between Cinemax Showtime porn.
Yeah, it might have been like his show was canceled and these are like these made for TVs. I don't know.
Yeah, it was. I think they were made in contrast to what the WWF at the time was doing. And yeah, they are fun movies because of everybody but Hulk Hogan. So like because Carl Weathers is there, Shannon Tweed's there. I think what's the guy from Karate Kid, the Johnny's teacher.
Oh yeah. The guy who just bit a woman.
Yeah, Martin Cove,
just bit a woman.
Yeah. But sweep the leg, bite the leg. But but my favorite thing about Hulk Hogan, and I know we're trying to wrap this up. I'm sorry, but like John Cena,
get John started on Hulk Hogan. He'll do a whole other episode on it.
John Cena and The Rock like lean into they're larger than life, like musclehead kind of guys, like in most of the roles that they do. They're in on the joke. But Hulk Hogan, I swear to God, if he was given like Midnight Summer's Dream, he'd be like, "Oh, well, now their spirit, winter wonder you, brother. Did I do Shakespeare right, guy?"
It's like what was it in The Lost World? There's a scene where the T-Rex is going through San Diego and this guy, and they're in like a movie, like a blockbuster, and there's Arnold Schwarzenegger as Hamlet. Or was that Last Action Hero? That's Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of funny haha Easter eggs in that blockbuster. Though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone as
the
Arnold
Terminator.
in the Terminator. Yes. Yeah. No, it's a thing where I think Hulk Hogan, like Randy Savage, only has like one speed.
Yeah.
Like, there's no alternative. There's no
John Cena is branching out. He's doing a lot more comedy. He's not always playing the musclehead.
He is more versatile.
He is.
Like The Rock is always, I feel like when he's doing his live action stuff, he's always playing the same guy over and over again.
He's either playing funny tough guy or tough guy. Yeah.
Yes. Although I think now he's trying to go like dramatic.
The Hurt Machine.
Yes, yeah. Where I saw that trailer and I was like, I did not know that was The Rock for a moment because of the prosthetics all over his face. Yeah. But that's a story for another day. Well, Brett, John, awesome episode. Brett, where can people find more information about Dissect That Film, find more information about you, and follow you all so that they can hear your podcast? Because I've heard it before. It's awesome.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. You can find us on we're on all the social medias. We're either at Dissect That Film or Dissect That Film Pod. We have a link tree. Just go to linktree/Dissect That Film. It'll have all of our social media links. We have our Patreon, our merch store, all that stuff. So, or just go to Google, as I say on our show, just go to Google and just type Dissect That Film. We're probably going to pop up in some capacity. So there you go. And we're, YouTube, podcast apps, all the normal podcast stuff.
All the normal podcast stuff. Awesome. John, where can they find you at on the internet?
I just also want to say that I'm a fan of your stuff. So it's kind of like, when you follow somebody, it's kind of like trippy to see their backdrop. I'm like, I know that. I've seen that before. I clapped because I saw it. So yeah, I'm a big fan of yours. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Love your stuff. So yeah, do follow them. I'm sure you'll see it in our show notes. But again, as he just said, Dissect, that film. Like, just Google that shit. If you like this show, you're gonna love that show. So add it to your repertoire. You can never have enough podcasts when you're doing stuff at a computer, whatever. Having said all that, I'm putting you over. Let me put myself over. There's Facebook, Instagram, and over at YouTube at J Does Video Nasties. I am currently editing my Lost World video, desperately trying to get it out in conjunction with Lost World 15 or whichever one they're on now. I don't know. It looks like shit. So I thought I'd take the second best Jurassic World Park movie ever and ask my so many questions about how the second island existed in the first place and why they're sending a chaos edition there. So I'm looking to have that out right around the premiere of Jurassic World 17. So.
Chaos edition.
It's his title.
I love the Lost World so much.
Oh, wow. Well, of course, if you have loved this podcast, please do me a favor and share it. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your favorite Batman fan. Of course, if you want to follow us, you can follow us on your favorite podcast app of choice or go to cinemapsychoshow.com/follow. It's right there on the bottom of the screen there. You can see that right there. cinemapsychoshow.com/follow. You will notice that there is a new website that I've made. I've been spending a good bit of time. I talked about this on the last episode. Redesigning our website and make it look really spiffy. So enjoy that little bit of web design that I've done. I'm gonna be doing a little bit more with it to make the rest of the site spiffy, but that's probably the best way. On top of that,
I'm gonna interrupt him real quick. Tell him that it looks good. That's not easy work, and he updated things. So just tell Brian that he did a hell of a job, because you know what I did? Jack fucking shit. Brian did it all himself.
We don't even have a website because I'm terrified. I don't know what to do.
Oh, well, Brett, I will again, just like with the OBS stuff, I will show you that too. We'll get you all hooked up.
Yeah, it's all streamlined. It's all hot. It's all sexy.
It's sexy.
Brian, he did a hot, sexy job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. On top of that, if you are watching us here on YouTube, hey, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, hit the thumbs up, and leave a comment in the comments, because that stuff really does help us out. I've been doing a lot of stuff on the YouTube front, and really trying to do even things like extra little clips, which have been doing pretty well. But please do that, because it really does help us out in the algorithm. And with that said, we will see you next time.
Sabrina, don't just look at it. Eat it.